Alright, welcome back to the Wallace branch. And we are here following the NP local, which is just passing a little siding here at Grouse, Idaho, which is the last meaningful place as far as the geography of this route is concerned until the train gets to the end of the branch line for the NP at Wallace. At which point, all we need to do is basically turn this train around and assemble the new local, which will be heading out. And I guess they're all the same local. You know, it's the local train is coming in and then going out. And it's been quite a while since my last recording. Is it been only a week? I think more than a week is what it feels like. So I definitely feel like I've forgotten some of the things we were working on in the last episode. So I hope we can get back up to speed at least a little bit. Because now we're at 12:30, and one thing about the game is that time marches on, and when it starts to get afternoon, then basically that's when we start to feel more pressure to get the tasks done for the day. But we're doing pretty well on that front. I just checking the spreadsheet here. I think in the last episode I said that there were 4 out of the 7 tasks were done, but actually it's 5 out of the 7 today tasks. So essentially what we are remaining to do is the general goods that are currently in Haugen, and then we have the logs that are in Chester. So both those should be well in hand. The NP local absolutely has to pick up those logs, or else that today task could not be done. But other than that, I'd say everything is looking good on their today tasks. And basically, if we could master the today task, this one, because there's so many relative to normal, then I think we're good to go. So let's move on to Wallace. But before we do, I'm going to put you on pause, and we're going to take a look at why the time is not advancing. Okay, train is being brought to a stop. That's what happens, I guess, when you restart the quick drive rule. But we're almost to Wallace, so it wouldn't have been... It's lucky, in fact, that we are watching... Who do we have here, by the way? Richard Dreyfuss. It's a good thing we're watching Richard Dreyfuss, because otherwise this train would be stopped without knowing where or why. So let's just continue the schedule. Okay, so do want to... Basically, we need to start assembling the trains on both sides here. So this is sand and some empty hoppers. All of that will be going... that'll be going over the pass. Cabooses back there? We do. Doesn't matter though, they're not UP cabooses. So we're just moving through the yard. Grab some of these ore cars for going to the smelter, of course. Got a little Mayflower van heading up through Wallace. While the interstate was under construction for many years, Interstate 90 was the only interstate that just went directly through the downtown of through the surface streets of a downtown of a small town. Don't know exactly when the highway overpass was completed, probably mid-80s or early 80s. Got these ore cars, and hopefully this middle track is open. I think so. Oh, it's not. Okay. Well, Okay, now it's all coming back to me. Yeah, so what we have to do is do a big runaround. So we can get all of the ore cars at the same time. And here's where it would be great to be able to put it on autopilot and couple with those cars and then couple with the second string of cars. Nice little S2. We've got our RS3, Burlington Northern Caboose, of course. Then a nice long string of covered hoppers. It might not be a bad idea. I see that the RS2, the UP RS2, is sort of hanging out there with those flat cars. You know, why don't we just grab this flat car too, which is blocking a track? The thing about empties is that they tend to sort of hang out on their own track, and a lot of times it's not that convenient to start stacking a bunch of empties in one track and taking them out because it's not a priority, it's not an urgent task usually. So that's why we have some singleton cabooses, singleton boxcars, singleton reefers, and things like that. And by now I'm guessing the NP local has actually arrived, so we may want to hurry it up a little bit. Of course, there's not really much you can do. I guess that's the way real railroads are as well. You try to hurry, you're just creating problems for yourself or the public, in worst case scenario. I hear the horn. NP local has indeed arrived. Okay, now let's do the switch at the far end. And then we are good to do a little brief multitasking here. Okay. So check to make sure we're decoupling. Now we can, of course, pull this caboose into the actual caboose track. looking good. Now we can accelerate this little activity here. Yes. Actually, I think I do want this switch because we have to drop off the empties, I guess. Okay, let's start moving forward here. Okay, we've got the caboose out of the way and the RS2 is out of the way. Now, I believe we want to add another 4 cars to our NP local. Another 4 covered hoppers, I think. Are these labeled correctly? No, they're not. They are still labeled. It's just that they're not labeled correctly. Oh, and there's a Toomey hopper on there. That's interesting. I had not observed that. Now, it would be great. Eagle's here. Hello. It would be great news if we could kind of focus on the NP local. But unfortunately, I feel like there's a couple reasons why that might not be viable. We really have to get this UP train to pick up that caboose so that we can, I mean, I guess it's not the absolute priority, but okay, we're speeding. Not surprising, I guess. Okay. So my plan is just to pick up all these empties and then grab the caboose off the end of that train. So it doesn't actually matter if I do that first. But the thing is, it's just fussy enough that I kind of have to pay attention to it. Yeah, that's going to be a heavy train, so I'll stop. I'll hit stop on that now. Okay, so let's look here. We've got this train is just stopped because I probably told him to stop there. That's my guess. And I believe it's fair to say that this is going to be quite a heavy train. So my thinking is that these 2 extra units will be our helper, because we will not have any Malay helpers right now because they're both in servicing. One of them going to servicing. So, yeah. I always like to see 2 trains in motion. Like to see it, but it's always a bit risky as well. So now we should have 9 empty hoppers on this train. I really hope I didn't waste an effort by putting too many on there. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so I needed 1 more. So, okay, no problem. It's not a waste of time. And how many sand do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.5. Okay, so that's the 5.5 that I was remembering. Okay, we've got our Malay locomotive there. It's going into servicing. Let's stop you, and then decouple the steam engine here. No driver, not too surprising, I guess. Let's have Frederick Remington get on board. Yes, that Malay certainly does speed up very quickly. Whether that's realistic or not, I have my doubts. All right, time to check the spreadsheet. Okay, that should be okay. It's hard to believe that it's throwing a switch there. I guess the distance for that's the distance that it was required. Ah, it's the switch right back here. I see. That's fine. That's fine. Everything's good. Okay, so now we need to run around. And while running around, I think we might as well back up this train, pick up our empties. Okay, everything looking good there. Wrong train selected, okay. Yes, that is the new forward, I'd say. It's a little tentative two-horn blast. Okay, if we go straight, straight, straight. Keeping a sharp eye on those Burlington Northerns in the background. Now, it will be very interesting to see how much this train finally weighs and whether we can actually make it to where we're going. At this point, I'm keeping a sharp eye on the Union Pacific train in the background. The one thing about it, we don't know exactly how much it's going to weigh because the cars are currently empty. Half of them, anyway. Okay, here we are. Grab our caboose. How much does this train weigh? 3,200. Well, we have enough power for that, as long as we don't go up any heavy grades. It's mostly empties, of course. Okay, so we're going to go straight. And then we want to go into this track. Now the UP local could assemble all of these cars and clear out those tracks, but I don't really see the point in that. The other thing that could happen, but it's not going to happen, is the idea that maybe it would be a good time right now to get some more sand, so the whole load of all the sand and all the limestone that needs to go to the cement plant, that could all be going over the pass in the NP local in this turn. But I think that is going to be too much weight. It's my guess. Really struggling to get up that hill, I'd say. Okay, we can stop you. It's like trains are like kids. If you let them out of your sight for 1 minute, it's amazing how far they can go, what they can get up to. We've got 2 trains going to be coupling together with this consist. Now this train has gotten up to 9 miles an hour. Let's just pause. There we are. So, UP train, you can go on ahead to Kellogg. It takes a while to set up, but then it does actually work out in the end, right? East lead, I'd say. Okay, let's check out how much this train weighs. 2,100. So that's actually doing fine. I'm going to go over here to my spreadsheet, and so we're going to have 7,200 horsepower with the 2 sets of GP9s, right? And with 2,100, that's actually so we actually need 8,400 horsepower. So does that actually argue for throwing in the RS3? Because this is not the whole train, right? We have to load up with limestone. Throw in the RS3 and the S2. I mean, that would have to be the most unrealistic train to ever take place on this route. More unrealistic than the Malay helper with the BN locomotives. Eagle says, watching you do this is giving me anxiety, lol. Yeah, it's funny how I feel like starting this episode, or let's say ending the last episode, I really had a clear plan, and now I don't feel like I have a clear plan at all. Yeah, I wonder how many tons we're going to get added on. Because I think the RS3, I mean, it's in my spreadsheet, and I will look it up. Car honking. Okay, 3 trains in motion at once. Why not? I don't see any downsides to that. Problem is that the RS3 is not visible from a distance. Something about the LODs that I haven't quite mastered. So the RS3 goes like kind of almost invisible. Okay, we can go that way. Pause. I'm having doubts about my 2 trains at once strategy, 3 trains at once strategy. How fast are you going? Yeah, okay, this is safe. See how the RS3 sort of appears. Change direction on me, I think. Yeah. It's funny, you can see the headlight. The headlight is visible, but not the actual locomotive. And I can see that in reality there might be some situations where that is true, like, but not at that distance, and not with this degree of brightness of the headlight, and certainly not in broad daylight. Okay, now we're looking good here. Yeah, I feel good that the trains are finally starting to get a little bit longer. I think one of the things on this Wallace branch playthrough, as on the PNB playthrough as well, that I found a little bit disappointing, and I'm trying to calibrate, not correct, but I'm trying to calibrate it to get some longer trains, because I think that it's a little bit, it's not very realistic that you have so many short trains. You know, the whole point, the whole efficiency of railroads is having one locomotive or one lash up for a longer train. If every train has like 10 cars, then you're like, well, just put it on a truck at that point. Drive via Mullen, NP, Maine. Okay, how many tons do we have now? Same. Okay, I'm going to save this. Almost crashed. I could feel that it wanted to crash, but I said no. Okay, are all the boxcars full? No. Now this is an example of a longer train, but this is not probably what I'm really talking about, because this is a long train simply because this industry had so many reefers to load up with beer. And there we've got our beer loading in. Okay, so for all of the MI2 tracks in this little neighborhood in Haugen, Montana, basically, none of them were working for me. And it took me a while to figure out that none of them were working. Like I thought, okay, this one's not working. I wonder why that is. Let's try to fix that. So I was kind of going through one by one, fixing stuff. Actually, let's just go straight and collect them all, right? Here you can really see the difference, at least I can on my screen, the lighter color of the Toomey Little Joe versus what I think would be a more darker orange. So that's all looking good. So this train, you know, it's sort of pleasant to put together because unlike the rest of the cars on this route, this represents a through train. So whenever we have trains on the UP, BN, or NP, those are all locals, right? And they're only servicing the map. But in Milwaukee, this is the Pacific Extension. It goes all the way to the coast, all the way from Chicago to the coast. So they're going to have longer trains now. I didn't make it realistic. I didn't make it a 2 mile long train or a mile long train, but yeah, so this enables you to put together more of a mix of different cars, which again, I didn't really do that. But yeah, this is just bringing in a few empties to pick up the general goods in Haugen. For this train, I think we can just decouple now. Once again, we've got 2 trains in motion. Okay, pause. It's definitely not a complicated switching puzzle, but it still does require a little bit of concentration. I have been watching on YouTube the squirrel playthroughs of Derail Valley, which I have never played the game Derail Valley, and I'm not really interested in Derail Valley, but it seems there that he does quite a bit of controlling two trains at once or doing activities while the train that he's controlling is in motion but not on camera. Okay, here we are. So now we have only one train in motion. Can start to concentrate a little bit more. Okay, do the switch here. Yes, that's good. That's not good. Okay. And don't know if you actually have any way to control it in-game, but the rearmost pantograph should be the one raised, not the forward one, says Willie's 1961. Well, let's just take a look. We can have both of them, and we can have the rear one. And kudos to Toomey for basically programming that. So yeah, we are looking here at the head end of the locomotive. And I would like eventually, but I have not put it on my list, but I would like eventually to make my own version of that. But of course then that requires both animating the pantograph, considering whether to do the cab. That's why it's so daunting to put any locomotive on my list at this point. Here's the cab. It's not bad, you know. At the time that this was made, I'm sure that this was top of the line, is my guess. It is actually three-dimensional. There's a little error there on that window. Yeah, I gotta link a line side camera here. Eagle says, those are the 4 default states the game allows. Front, both, rear, none. Which pantograph is up depends on the cargo the train is carrying, while rear would be the standard. If you have flammable or some other dangerous goods, you would use front. Oh, that is interesting. Now, I think that the Little Joe would always be in the front anyway, with the diesels behind the Little Joe. So there would always be a separation between the first rolling stock load and the Little Joe, is my guess. I think it would be a very rare case where the Little Joe would be pulling a long train by itself. Not saying never. That's what I've seen photos of. All on the Pacific Extension of this part of the Pacific Extension, you'd have like, I don't know, potentially 3-4 diesels and then a Little Joe. So I think if we stop it here, that might be about right. Looking good. Here I see some severely messed up catenaries. Not going to look at them. Gonna get away from, gonna get as far away as possible, so you can't see that. I have not returned and edited any aspect of the catenaries since I put the route together. Okay, NP portal. Oh, but first we have to get off the train. Driver control center. Get off the train. Now the train has no engineers. That's the situation we want. Okay, click on the train. Driver control. Add. Waza. Okay, and Waza, you can get on the train. Now you can go to NP portal. Is it portal NP? Oh, navigate to NP portal. Excellent. So let's save the game here. Okay, here is our NP local, and my idea is that we will attempt to pick up the hops here. Then we'll take a look at the train weight, and then we'll move on to Larson. Okay, I'm looking at the RS3 has 1,600 horsepower. So now we have enough horsepower. We clearly have enough horsepower to pull the train that we have right now over the pass. Now we do have a bunch of empties. I mean, is it sort of bad practice to take the empties to Mullen and then just leave them there? And how much is that really going to save us? Now, none of these tasks are urgent. This train does not even, well, the train should leave the map, but none of these tasks, none of the loads here have to get off the map this turn. No, that's not true. We have to pick up the logs at Chester. So this local actually does have an additional requirement other than what we're doing on screen right now. So unfortunately, I think that is the answer. We're going to have to drop off. Well, another possibility is to drop off the I'm just thinking about the covered hoppers that are going to Larson. We could drop them off at Larson on the theory that they're too heavy to take with us. Okay, climbing a mountain for no reason. So these are the two covered hoppers with hops and some empties. Okay, so my idea here now would be to take control of this train. Continue moving forward here. Oops. Yeah, we do want to just go straight. No, we don't. mean, I was just talking about how I'd like to see longer trains on the route, and now I'm thinking like, oh, we gotta just cut this train in two because we can't carry the whole thing. Even with 4 GP9s and 1 RS3, we just don't have the horsepower to do all the things. But it does provide drama. I mean, we're not just running through a list of tasks. We actually have to think. It is, in that way, it is similar to Derail Valley in that you're going to have to think about what you're going to do next and so forth. Okay, let the slack play out there a little bit. And I kind of think that the trains doesn't actually care once your speed is 0. If you decouple at that speed, even if the slack hasn't played out, it'll be fine. All right, we are going to pull forward here, and then we're just going to put these empties on an empty track. Let's just check how much this weighs now. How much are we actually saving? We're only saving 300 tons, 482 tons. Well, that's a fourth of the weight, right? So that's not minor. How about this train here? Unfortunately, we can't decouple to find out how much just the hops weighs. That's 190. We're definitely going to come out ahead. And Chester, of course, is at the very top of the pass. Oh. Oh. Okay, I don't know what view I'm on now. But it's not the view I want, that's for sure. Okay, that's all the time we have for today. We maybe even went a little bit over, but in the next episode we'll be heading over the pass and getting closer to the realization of our goals. So thanks for joining. Hope to see you again next week on the Wallace branch.